For 40 years, the Porsche 911 Turbo has been a very coveted car, a pumped-up Carrera with way more power than was strictly necessary. Though never a cheap car, the Turbo has always offered the kind of brutal acceleration typically reserved for machines costing much, much more. In 2016, Porsche is putting turbochargers in every new 911. Good news, right? Maybe not. Some Porsche purists are up in arms about a loss of driving character, a muted engine noise, and, well, this is that new car. This is a brand new Porsche 911 with turbochargers, and I've come all the way to the Canary Islands to answer one simple question. Is it any good? It certainly looks good. It still has that traditional shape and style of the 911, but I think it looks quite modern and honestly quite pretty. Changes over the outgoing car, which was called the 991, are quite few. This new car, which is called the 991.2, has a slightly more pronounced, a little bit more aggressive nose. There are a few creases on the rear end that weren't there before, and a new engine cover, and really, that's about it. In fact, Porsche's press release on this car says that the most striking new feature are the door handles. It sits 10 millimeters lower, and thankfully Porsche now offers an optional lift to keep you from smearing that new nose across every speed bump you find. And the new rear-wheel steering system promises to make the car more nimble in the twisties and also more stable in the straights. So the big question, does it still sound like a Porsche? The answer is yes, it does, but it's not as loud as it used to be. Those of you who want a little bit more volume will definitely want to option out the sports exhaust, which gives you another little button here in the middle. Hit that and the car does get quite a bit louder. At least it does on the inside. Interestingly, it doesn't get much louder on the outside. But unlike BMW, who resort to some digital trickery to pull off that kind of magic, Porsche actually ran a couple of tubes from the engine's intake into the car's interior here, so you get more noise without annoying the neighbors. It actually works quite well. The car does sound very good. Again, it's not as loud as before, but it does still have that trademark Porsche growl. Where the old 911 had different motors depending upon whether you went for a base model or paid extra for the S, the new 911 offers a smaller 3-liter flat 6 across the range. In base trim it makes 365 horsepower, go for the S and you get 414 thanks to bigger turbos and some other tweaks. Both figures are about 20 more horses than the outgoing car. Now, if you're thinking what I'm thinking, yes, there is the potential for much, much more power from even the base car with just a little bit of ECU hacking courtesy of your local tuner. What that'll mean for reliability and of course for your warranty remains to be seen. There is some turbo lag for sure. When you put your foot down, there is a little bit of a moment there before the boost builds and the car leaps forward, but it's really not that noticeable. That's especially true if you go into one of the sportier driving modes. The throttle response is sharpened, and that definitely helps to hide the turbo lag. There's also a button on the PDK-equipped cars which gives you a Sport Response mode. That's 20 seconds of Sport Plus, perfect for quick overtakes or for quick escapes. On the inside, things are much the same as they've ever been inside of a 911. We're surrounded by nice materials everywhere. The front seats are supportive yet comfortable, and in the back there are 2 child-sized indentations. But there's been one major change in the interior, and that's thanks to this, an iPhone. For the first time, the 911 offers Apple CarPlay, and while I'm disappointed there's no Android Auto here, those of you who live your lives within Apple's walled garden will be happy to know you can now build a garage next door and park your new Carrera inside. If you don't have an iPhone, or if you can't be bothered to plug it in, the fully revised navigation system now offers Google Maps integration and is overall much faster and nicer to use. The new 911's gained about 35 pounds over the outgoing model, and while I hate to see cars getting heavier as they get older, Porsche did have to add about 80 pounds worth of plumbing and pipes and other stuff to make those 2 turbos work, so it certainly could have been a lot worse. Adaptive suspension is now standard on every 911. In normal mode, the car is quite plush and comfortable. Hit the button though, of course, and things get a little bit more stiff. But, interestingly, the car never starts to crash over bumps like other sports cars can. In sport mode, it's still really drivable, even on the bumpy roads we have here in Tenerife. Whether or not you like the new motor, or the new look, or the new handling, the new 911 has taken a big step forward on the interior with that new infotainment system. It's properly good, and it's going to get even better when they add Android Auto. As to the rest of the car, I can see how you might be a little bit disappointed about the lack of engine noise and the tiny bit of turbo lag that's crept into the system. But in exchange, you're getting more power, more efficiency, a smarter car, and better handling. You gotta admit, that's a pretty good deal.